na nchi nzima iliyoathirika na ukatili wa kijinsia kwenye vituo vyako pendwa vya redio. Piga simu 0800 428 428 ili kuripoti unyanyasaji. Sheria na nchi nzima iliyoathirika na ukatili wa kijinsia kwenye vituo vyako pendwa vya redio. Piga simu 0800 428 428 ili kuripoti unyanyasaji au kupata msaada. GBV ikomeshwe na wewe. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwenu na shirika la SABC.
Tshepiso Makwetla winds it down on African World Hour, 9 to 10 p.m.
And it is 2100 hours Central African time on this Monday, the 27th of October. A warm welcome to you. This is a program that brings you 60 minutes of the very latest news from the heart of Africa to all corners of the globe. Wherever you're watching, listening from, welcome to it. Please do share your perspective as we bring you the voices, the perspectives, and of course, the stories that matter. So countless stories, one voice in terms of that African perspective. I am Tshepiso Makwetla. Coming up on the program today, it's all about politics, all about leadership, all about constitutionalism, and so much more. So do reach out to us. +2763 406 9126. Share your thoughts on some of the stories that we're covering today. Here's a look at your top stories tonight.
Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802. Tshepiso Makwetla winds it down on African World Hour, 9 to 10 p.m.
And we start with this. South Africa's Justice and Constitutional Development Deputy Minister Andries Nel saying strengthening the existing Protection Disclosure Act will go a long way in protecting whistleblowers. Nel says the delay in realigning the current legislation is of serious concern and continues to endanger those who want to share information on the corruption, among others. He was speaking at Public Interest South Africa's annual Whistleblower Summit in Johannesburg, the gathering of whistleblowers, policymakers, media and civil society in the public and private sectors gathered, where the Deputy Minister Nel emphasised the need to support the Chapter 9 institutions to scale up the fight against corruption and protect whistleblowers.
And so in that regard, we liaise very closely with the Public Protector. We are constitutionally obliged and we do support the work. I'm very happy to indicate that at a time of financial and fiscal constraint, the Public Protector is one of those institutions whose budget has continued to grow in recognition for the very, very important role that they play.
South Africa's Justice and Constitutional Development Deputy Minister speaking there. Now on to Israel. It's accused United Nations peacekeepers of deliberately shooting down one of its drones in Lebanon. The UN force says it targeted the device because it flew over a patrol in an aggressive manner. Israel says the drone was conducting routine intelligence gathering and posed no threat to the peacekeepers. The BBC's Hugo Bachega has those details.
Despite a ceasefire that came into force last November, ending the war with the Lebanese movement Hezbollah, Israel has continued to fly drones and carry out airstrikes on people and targets in Lebanon, it says, are linked to the group. The military says it is acting to prevent Hezbollah from regrouping and rearming. The United Nations and the Lebanese government say Israel's actions are a violation of the country's sovereignty and in breach of the ceasefire deal. The Israeli military has intensified its attacks recently, as Hezbollah insists it will not disarm despite international and domestic pressure.
A 41-year-old American citizen wanted for multiple crimes committed in the USA has been arrested in the Northern Cape of South Africa, but we'll come back to that story. Let's start with this, where judgment has been reserved in the leave to appeal application in Nigerian televangelist Timothy Omotosho's rape case sitting in the Gqeberha High Court in South Africa's Eastern Cape province. The National Prosecuting Authority there arguing that whether or not their case will be successful in the Supreme Court should not play a factor in Judge Irma Skuman allowing them to take the matter up to a higher court. Omotosho's lawyer Peter Doberman argued that there has to be a reasonable prospect of success in order for the applicants to be granted the appeal, and that the NPA failed to meet the jurisdictional requirements of Section 319. NPA spokesperson Luxolo Kyali says they are committed to bringing justice to the victims.
As the NPA, we remain committed to ensuring that the victims of these crimes do find justice. For that, we are willing to take the matter to the highest court in the land, because we believe that the outcomes of this case have far-reaching implications on the criminal justice system. Because here we have an issue where we believe that crucial evidence was never considered.
A 41-year-old American citizen wanted for multiple crimes committed in the United States of America has been arrested at a local farm in Kanuneland near Kakamas in the Northern Cape province of South Africa. The man was arrested during a joint operation between SAPS and Interpol. He faces charges of kidnapping and other cases. Police spokesperson Umpili Masakhala says the accused is in public custody and will be extradited to the USA soon.
The members from Interpol engaged with SAPS in Kanuneland in connection with an American male person wanted for several cases, including kidnapping, who was suspected to be in the vicinity of Kanuneland. The SAPS team, comprising of Kanuneland SAPS, Upington Border Police and Upington Highway Patrol, along with the Interpol officials, successfully traced and arrested the suspect at one of the farms in the area. The suspect is currently in custody and is expected to be extradited soon.
And limited resources at the South African Police Service Forensic Laboratory Services coming under the spotlight at the Madlanga Commission in Pretoria. Head of the ballistics section at the Police Forensic Science Laboratory, Brigadier Mishek Mkabela, has testified that staff shortages are crippling operations. He says only half of its workstations can operate because of that shortage of analysts. Here's Mkabela's responding to Chief Evidence Leader Advocate Matthew Chaskelson on the issue.
Commissioners, we call that the service level agreement. We pay a monthly fee of over 3.8 million per month for the maintenance of the system, commissioners.
So you're paying a monthly fee of 3.8 million a month, but you can really only use half the capacity of that system because you only can operate 4 of the 8 input centers with your current staff.
As it will be outlined later with the figures, unfortunately, that is the reality, commissioners.
We are on Open Views Audio Bouquet, Channel 628.
Zilipendwa na Abedi Jean de la Croix.
Leo tujadili kuhusu chipukizi wanaoimba nyimbo za wasanii wengine. Unadhani hili linatokana na nini, Omari?
Nadhani kweli kwamba tukizama muziki ya sasa, hasa wasanii ambao ni chipukizi, kwa kweli kwamba yani karibu kutoka muziki wao wenyewe, lakini wanakuwa wanapenda kuhubiria muziki ya zamani hizo muziki ya wengine ambao ni hivyo.
Wengine wanadai kufanya hivyo ni kupromote vipaji vyao haraka ili waweze kujulikana. Je, yawezekana kukawa na ukweli wowote au ndio kukosa kabisa kipaji cha kuandika mistari?
Ndio, unaona kwamba msanii anapoazimia kwamba kuchukua wimbo mwingine wa msanii mwingine na kurudilia mara mbili studio, haionyeshi kwamba yani ndio wanaanza kazi ya muziki aizani, lakini ukiangalia kabisa asilimia kubwa utakuja kuona kwamba wanakosa ile mawazo ya kutunga muziki.
Zilipendwa kila Jumamosi kuanzia saa 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati hadi saa 1 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
Tshepiso Makwetla winds it down on African World Hour, 9 to 10 p.m.
Right, so let's tell you what's been happening in Cameroon today. As we mentioned at the beginning of the show, that there has been quite a lot of developments over the weekend, and of course today, the announcement of the final results of the election held there on October 12. So Cameroon's incumbent President Paul Biya officially being declared the winner, securing approximately, we're told, 53.66% of the percentage of the vote, according to the country's constitutional court. The announcement comes amid protests by opposition supporters and reports of clashes between demonstrators and security forces that have left at least 4 people dead. At 92 years old, Biya, who first took office in 1982, may now remain at the helm for a further 7-year term, potentially serving well into his late 90s. To speak more about this, we're joined by a correspondent in Cameroon, Moki Kinzega. Moki, a very good evening to you. What can you tell us about what is happening on the ground in Cameroon at the moment? Have the protests died down somewhat, or is the tension still rising?
Now, welcome to Cameroon's capital, Yaoundé. If you came to part of Yaoundé, you will be deceived by the atmosphere there, because the general calm, the streets are deserted, and it also only see 34 spotted here and there. But when you go to opposition strongholds like Douala, like Darwa, like Africa, then a lot of violence, a lot of looting, a lot of protests. In fact, people are angry. They are expressing their discontent that the fact that Mr. Biya was not supposed to be the winner. The voters of Issa Chiroma Bakari persist and say he is the person that won the election, and they will continue protesting until Issa Chiroma has his victory. You know, the protests have been very bloody. About 7 people died. About 3 again were reported dead today. So it's not a good scene in Cameroon at all.
So, Moki, just tell us, do we expect there to be further legal contestations to the final outcome, even though the Constitutional Court has spoken?
Now, the results of the Constitutional Council, that is how it is called here in Cameroon, indicates that Mr. Biya had 53.66%, as you indicated earlier on. And then Issa Chiroma, who is expected to have won by many of his supporters, has 35%. If you look at those results, they are simply inverted. According to Issa Chiroma, he says he knows he won the elections by 55%, and he is still insisting that he won. His supporters are still insisting that he won. But what has been making news also is a message a shared message through social media platforms by President Paul Biya, in which President Paul Biya is saying that thanking the Cameroonian people for giving him the mandate and expressing his regret that some people have lost their lives because of the victory, but promising that this mandate of 7 years will be a mandate where he will work to develop Cameroon, where he will work to make sure that promises that were not met are made. And he also says he is committed to leading Cameroon up to the end. Now, you said it also earlier, Paul, there is 92 years. People are asking, will he have the health, the stamina, the strength to be able to lead till he is 99? Because the current mandate is supposed to end in 2022 when Paul Biya will be 99, getting to 100. So how would a 100-year-old man lead is a question people are asking. Within Paul Biya's party itself, there are still some complaints. People are thinking that he should have handed over to a young person. But the decision of the Constitutional Council is final. The people are saying, okay, now that it's been decided, some of those who support Mr. Biya, now that he has been declared the winner, he should make sure younger people take leadership. The president of the National Assembly is over 80 years. The president of the Senate is about 90 years. The president of the Constitutional Council is over 80 years. In fact, we have a group of very old people who are leading. So the youth are asking, the youth within Biya's party, they're saying that if he wants to do things the correct way, He is old. He should now bring younger people around him for the people to be able to feel that at least they have a leader who listens to them, who attends to their needs, who moves out and see the people through the people he appoints, because Paul Biya is hardly seen in public.
So just let's get a sense whether this is a unifying factor in Cameroon as a whole, despite the barriers between North and South, and even the identity as a result of Anglophone, Francophone that has often torn apart the Cameroonian population. Are they united in this expression of frustration and anger at Paul Biya being declared a winner?
I like the way you put it. United in frustration and anger is the right thing to say, because you've seen protests from the north to the south, even in the Paul Biya's own region of origin, the Bulus, indicating how much even people are close to him are united, that he should have, a lot of people that he should have not gone for this election this time around. But again, that is bringing some sort of division between the people of the central region and the people of the north region, where Issa Chiroma Bakari comes from. The attacks on people from the northern regions who are in Yaoundé and Douala have been enormous. In fact, the security forces are targeting mostly people who are from Issa Chiroma's area, that is northern Cameroon. If you go to a list of several dozen people who are arrested in Douala, 90% of them are from the north. So it is also leading to some sort of conflicts, intercommunal conflicts between southerners and northerners. But those from the northwest and southwest, the English-speaking regions, are saying, we have been in conflict for a long time. We have to stay quiet now. We have seen the worst. We cannot continue the fighting. We're not going to join in what the other regions of the country may be facing at this particular time now. So the English-speaking regions are a little bit safe. There was protests, but not as violent as in the French-speaking regions. Yes, there is unity that Paul Biya should have at least given power to a younger person, although his supporters, those who are very close to him, think that he is the right person to be able to solve the problems Cameroon is facing now, because the problems came up when he was president.
All right, Moki, we're going to leave it there with you. Thank you very much, our correspondent in Cameroon, Moki Kinzeka. We move on now to further this conversation with political analyst Tele Nkomo. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, let's just continue from where we left off with our correspondent Moki Kinzeka about what seems to be a coalition of a civic organization, demonstration by the youth. Whether or not they are homogeneous or not, but it seems to be they are coagulating around the idea that the leaders that are at the helm are too old and they cannot, in fact, contend with another 7 years of a Paul Biya who is already 92 years old. How should we understand this phenomenon that is happening, particularly in Cameroon? And then we'll go on and look at other countries in the region.
Yeah, so it's important to note that 70% of the population in Cameroon is actually under the age of 30 years old. The number of young people is high, they are unemployed, and they feel that they have leaders who are very much out of touch. When you talk about President Biya, he's not only is he 92 years old, there are questions about his health, questions about the fact that people in Cameroon say that he has been spending a lot of time in Europe, the fact that during these elections we saw what was really a strange phenomena in politics, where a presidential candidate only appeared once in public during the campaign period. So there are questions as to whether he is able to deliver at that age and whether he is able to solve the problems that affect the issues that are facing the young people of Cameroon.
And how do you see this movement of Gen Z, as they are being dubbed, maximizing, their strategies, including, avoiding exclusion, optation, and just ensuring that they don't suffer burnout from suffering what seems to be a very chronic political environment in Africa, where the youth are left out of the high echelons of power. And as we say, it's more than 70% of Cameroonians' population made out of the youth.
Yeah, what we're seeing in Cameroon, and as you said, in various parts of the region, including Kenya, where I'm from, is that young people want to be more and more involved in the political processes. They feel as though the issues that are affecting them, especially issues surrounding the economy and unemployment, to be more specific, have become too much, that leadership has not really been listening to them. There's been a very big divide between the people in leadership and the young people in different parts of Africa. And we're starting to see them now taking to social media, taking to the streets in order to protest the leadership that is there in Cameroon, in Kenya. We've seen other places, not just actually in Africa, but even other places in Asia and around the world. So young people are trying to now force their way into the discussion, into the political discussion and the political narratives that are there in their countries, so that the issues that they face are solved.
And I want to look at that. As you say, we've seen quite a few of these youth movements that have been mobilizing. We've seen it in Senegal, as you say, Kenya. We're seeing it happen we saw it happen in Madagascar. In Zimbabwe, we also saw it at some point. So I want to look at Gen Z, as it's been dubbed now, and how they are leveraging even digital media, and we'll talk about the blockchain voting apparatus in just a moment. But how similar are they to the Arab Spring moment that we saw, that galvanized quite a few African countries to protest out in the street on some of the issues that they felt were not being paid attention to by the multilateral bodies?
I think we're seeing a few similarities with the Arab Spring, in the sense that, the Arab Spring saw a lot of leaders who had been there for a very long time, strong dictators, eventually leave office. What is very key with what is happening today is, as you say, the leveraging of the digital platforms, especially social media. Social media now is having a much bigger impact in the political arena, especially in as far as mobilizing people to go even to the streets, and even creating a platform where people can talk and can hold their leaders and can hold their leaders to account. In Madagascar, of course, we saw a change in government in that particular country. In Kenya, we did not quite see that, but the young people are still very much involved in the political narrative. Again, there's also the idea that the context and the political environment in the countries are still very, very different. But I think what we are seeing is the beginning of what could be a very big movement, or what is a very big movement in Africa, and that could lead to a lot of changes. It will be interesting to see how other countries, for example, Uganda, that has had President Museveni there for a very long time and are about to have elections. It will be interesting to see the role that the youth play in that particular country and in other countries. As you mentioned, Zimbabwe, there has been conversations around abolishing term limits also in Zimbabwe, and that also has caused a lot of young people to protest. So it will be interesting to see at the end of the day what the end result will be for this Gen Z movement.
And as you mentioned, there are some differences, particularly in that there's evolution. So the motives, tools, and context are those distinct characteristics that set them apart. But, when I look at the Arab Spring, it was triggered by decades of authoritarianism, and this post-Arab Spring movement generation, we believe that they are wary of quick revolutions. But how different is the authoritarianism that the Arab Spring grouping of 2010, 2012 saw, that what this generation is seeing? Because we're still seeing the elderly, political leaders keeping out of the political, at least decision-making sphere, young people?
Yeah, I think when you go back to 2010 during that Arab Spring moment, as you mentioned, it was clear authoritarianism. Dictatorship, I think, would be the best way to put it. You had full-blown dictators in places like Libya, in places like Egypt, and people were trying to fight for their democratic space. I think that is also quite similar today. What we are seeing with a lot of leaders now is trying to manipulate their constitutions, trying to manipulate their institutions to ensure that they continue to serve in office. So you get countries where they abolish term limits. President Biya did that in Cameroon in 2008. President Museveni has done that in Uganda, and there are some other countries where you hear discussions of abolishing term limits or trying to extend term limits. President Kagame extended his term limits in Rwanda. But I think the biggest cause of what we are seeing today, especially with young people, has really been the economic situation. I think the fact that the economic situation has not been favorable for them is the one thing that has really pushed them to the streets, pushed them to protest against these governments that have been there for a very, very long time.
And just looking at the situation that we're seeing, say, just to compare Madagascar, Cameroon at the moment, that we're seeing a movement of Gen Z that is more values-based, intersectional justice, but that they're using different spaces as well to speak out and fight the system, that they are using entrepreneurship, art, and culture. And as I mentioned, the blockchain voting tools that are in place now to express themselves. But how much qualitatively has the democratic quality they seek changed?
I think in the past few years where we've seen a lot of this Gen Z movement, it has changed from depending on country to country. Madagascar, as I said, we saw a change in government. In Kenya, the political class seemed to coalesce last year in order to try and keep power, or to try and reduce the effects of that political, rather the Gen Z sort of revolution, as we would call it. It will be interesting to see what happens in 2027 elections here. So it's been different from country to country. What we're seeing is that the old guard is trying as much as possible to resist the call for changes that we keep seeing. We are seeing them trying to try to be a little bit smart. We are seeing them use their security apparatus, as you saw, for example, in Cameroon. It's unfortunate that the security apparatus are using live ammunition to deal with protesters. We saw the same thing here in Kenya, where a number of young people were killed during the protests. And even beyond that, we saw security personnel abduct or kidnap some of the people who are vocal on social media, and in fact led to the death of one young man, and who died in the arms of police. So the old regime is trying its best and using different tools to try and counter this, but it is proving to be harder and harder for them. And I think the more we go on, the more time goes on, the fact that there will be more young people who will be part of this protest. It's important to note that millennials themselves, especially the millennials maybe that are close to the Gen Z age bracket, have also been part and parcel of this protest. And we are starting to also see new politicians trying to emerge. So I think we could start seeing changes, though it might be difficult, it may take time, and it will depend from country to country.
All right, and just a quick one in terms of scale and organization, and we'll take it back to Cameroon, where this conversation started. I mean, where do you see Cameroon in the next 2 years? And I say 2 years, not even looking at the full 7-year term. Will they have been able to effect that lasting legacy in ousting President Paul Biya, if not making that impact that says here no further in terms of having octogenarian candidates?
That's a difficult question to answer because the situation right now, as I said, is the fact that the government of President Paul Biya is fighting back. What is interesting to note is that in the 2018 elections, then opposition candidate Maurice Kamto also declared victory the same way Shimora is declaring victory today. But at the end of the day, President Biya ended up holding on to power. What is interesting is the fact that they seem to be very, very determined to use the means that they have, especially use the protests that they use their protests to try and overthrow, or not overthrow, but to try and defeat President Biya. And if the situation gets to a position where the country becomes very, very unstable, what is likely to happen is that we're likely to probably see, organizations like the African Union, like ECOWAS, try and jump in, try and come, probably try and create some sort of agreement between Issa Shimora and President Biya. And it will be interesting to see how people react if that is the case, or whether Shimora will dig deep and decide that the country will be unstable until President Biya leaves office.
All right, thank you so much for your time. Much appreciated, and your insights. Political analyst Tele Nkomo, who just speaks to us about the latest situation in Cameroon on the ground, the protests that we're seeing. We're told 6 to 7 people have died as a result of that, following the announcement of elections that were held there 12 October, saying that President Paul Biya, the incumbent, has won another 7-year term.
Let the good times roll. From the 10th of October, make a note. Channel Africa is stepping into a brand new era with the launch of our upgraded website and app. It's easy, fresh, and always on your fingertips. Wherever you are in the world, Africa's voice is just a click away. The future of Channel Africa goes live from the 10th of October. Don't miss the moments.
Zilipendwa na Abedi Jean de la Croix.
Leo tujadili kuhusu chipukizi wanaoimba nyimbo za wasanii wengine. Unadhani hili linatokana na nini, Omari?
Nadhani kweli kwamba tukizama muziki ya sasa, hasa wasanii ambao ni chipukizi, kwa kweli kwamba yani karibu kutoka muziki wao wenyewe, lakini wanakuwa wanapenda kuhubiria muziki ya zamani, hizo muziki za wengine ambao ni hivyo.
Wengine wanadai kufanya hivyo ni kupromote vipaji vyao haraka ili waweze kujulikana. Je, yawezekana kukawa na ukweli wowote au ndio kukosa kabisa kipaji cha kuandika mistari?
Ndio, unaona kwamba msanii anapoazimia kwamba kuchukua wimbo mwingine wa msanii mwingine na kurudilia mara mbili sivyo, haionyeshi kwamba yani ndio wanaanza kazi ya muziki aizani, lakini ukiangalia kabisa asilimia kubwa utakuja kuona kwamba wanakosa ile mawazo ya kutunga muziki.
Zilipendwa kila Jumamosi kuanzia saa 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati hadi saa 1 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
Channel Africa, where every moment is an African celebration. Feel the energy, feel the connection. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Tshepiso Makwetla winds it down on African World Hour, 9 to 10 p.m.
And we continue with the African perspectives on the developments around the continent and the world. This time we take you to Namibia, where President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah has dismissed Deputy Prime Minister Nathangwe with immediate effect, marking her first major political move since taking over office. The sudden announcement made through the presidency's statement earlier on today has sent ripples through the country's political landscape. While the official reasons for Itete's dismissal have not yet been disclosed, the decision is already sparking speculation about internal tensions within the ruling SWAPO party and the direction of President Nandi-Ndaitwah's administration. We're joined now to speak a little bit more about this by Mike Kave-Kotora, who is a former member of parliament in Namibia. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us.
Yes, good evening, and thank you for having me on your program.
So your reading of the situation, and if you could just perhaps give us some context from whence you draw your perspective on what is happening.
Well, we did receive the news that the The Deputy Prime Minister has been fired from his position, Nangolo Ithete, or Natango Ithete, that's it, who was also the Minister of Mines and Energy, which is a matter of fact, that is a very big portfolio because he was tasked with the responsibility of administering our natural resources. So the news came out last night in social media, and we have received information this morning in our newspapers that it is in fact true that the Deputy Prime Minister has been fired from his position. As you rightly said, the information as to why he was fired is very sketchy at the moment. There is just a few allegations. But from a strategic perspective, I think if the dismissal was done for the right reasons, I think the president is sending a very strong message to the nation that she really means business and she wants to ensure proper corporate governance. This is not the first time that she has done so. There was also the Minister of Agriculture, and who was also fired from his position based on allegations laid against him. So I think that that's a very good move, especially ensuring effective and efficient corporate governance, which is a critical success factor if we want to benefit from the abundance of our natural resources. You wouldn't want to have somebody in that position who might jeopardize the benefit that could have accrued to the nation, because Namibia, as much as we have an abundance of natural resources, the distribution of resources and the government programs are being deprived from basically reaching the ordinary person on the street because of corruption. And that is a clear move toward addressing the issue of corruption and fighting corruption head on.
So
what is a bit...
But perhaps before you continue, if we could just get a sense, if you say she would have made the right decision, and it would appear so because of maintaining a strong corporate governance, have there been, allegations or speculation in the past about any nefarious action by the Deputy Prime Minister?
Your phone is cutting. I didn't hear the last part of your question.
So I'm asking if there have been allegations made against the Deputy Prime Minister in terms of nefarious dealings.
Yes, there were some allegations made, for instance, that he's got an unhealthy relationship with some of the fishermen or the people who are controlling our fishing industry. There's another allegation that she went to approve a license while a moratorium was put on mining licenses. There are some allegations also that he made some decisions without informing the president, because the president from the word go also took that ministry under her wings to say that yes, you have a de facto minister, but that minister will report to the office of the president. So apparently there were allegations that he went to Angola to sign a deal without being authorized by the president to do so. These are some of the issues that were cited as allegations against him.
As you say, the portfolio being strategically important, and just looking at the statement, I believe that in keeping with consistency, that the presidency has said that the ministry will now be managed or will still fall under the presidency. Will this not cause concern that it would be outside of the oversight of parliamentary process?
Oh, that is exactly the point that I wanted to come at, because to make a comment on. You see, the separation of power was meant to make sure that there's checks and balances in the whole governance structure of our state. Now, the president is not, in our system, the president does not sit in parliament. So she's basically not accountable to parliament. While the ministers are actually accountable to parliament, and they sit in parliament, and oversight is being done on them from parliament. Now the question is, first of all, I was asking myself the question, but why did the president find it important to bring that portfolio under her wings? Number one, before the firing of the current minister. But now, I think the president had ample time basically to find a replacement for the one who is now fired. But why did she see it fit to basically keep that portfolio directly under her wing, and basically effectively becoming the Minister of Mines and Energy? That from a governance perspective is really not the right move, and I hope that that anomaly will be resolved in as short as possible time, because obviously the parliament need to ask many questions to the minister. Parliament need to scrutinize the operations, the financial operations of that ministry. But if the president does not sit in parliament, how would that oversight function be performed, and who will be accountable, and who will be responding to parliament? Parliament being the house of the people.
And obviously, depending on how investors, whether domestic or external, see this move, others could say it's good in that increases predictability, while critics of it may say that it actually exposes this very strategic and important portfolio to political interference. What do you think the investor sentiment is likely to be as a result of this announcement?
You see, it happens many a times where legislation was amended to give absolute power to ministers. In this particular instance, I see this as also a move to basically have control by the presidency of our natural resources. And that is not a healthy situation, especially in a democratic dispensation where accountability and scrutiny is part and parcel of our democratic institution. So I think from that perspective, it does not really sort of smell well from a public perspective, because there's a number of questions. First of all, the issue of oversight that we spoke about. Secondly, the interest that the president has from the beginning when she appointed her cabinet, why she actually went for that particular ministry. And thirdly, that ministry previously was also accused of corrupt activities. Now, if the president, where would the president have time basically to even scrutinize the officials who are running the day-to-day affairs of that ministry? So all these questions lead to almost an autocratic way of running the affairs of the state, contrary to the democratic principles and the system that we have chosen for our government.
And just finally, this centralization or perceived centralization, is it likely to impact the dynamic of the governing party SWAPO and that of the opposition and civil society, this latest decision?
It will definitely do that, because you see, our president is also the president of the ruling party. And they have always pronounced themselves to say that all the decisions that are being taken by the government must be in line with the the political manifesto of the ruling party. Now, a political manifesto is obviously a campaign tool. So it does not spell out the ABCs of government policies. So, and there was also a pronouncement to say that even from an investment perspective, whoever wants to come to Namibia must first comply with the ruling party manifesto, which in my view basically reduce the government functions basically to a ruling party manifesto, which is a political document that is basically meant to canvass support. So I think from that perspective, it might even raise questions from investors' perspective. I mean, are we going into Namibia as a democratic dispensation, or is Namibia now becoming more authoritarian and because I mean now obviously by virtue of the position being the president, that spells a lot of power, and it gives a lot of power to the president.
Right.
And from that perspective, it might be very difficult for ordinary people really to understand whether that move is really in favor of promoting democratic institutions.
Mr. Kaveh-Kotara, thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it, and your insights, just giving us some context and, gleaning new information into what are the motives behind this latest move by the president firing her deputy prime minister. Mike Kaveh-Kotara is a former member of parliament in Namibia.
Zilipendwa na Abedi Jean de la Croix.
Leo tujadili kuhusu chipukizi wanaoimba nyimbo za wasanii wengine. Unadhani hili linatokana na nini, Omari?
Nadhani kweli kwamba tukizama muziki ya sasa, hasa wasanii ambao ni chipukizi, kwa kweli kwamba yani karibu kutoka muziki wao wenyewe, lakini wanakuwa wanapenda kuhubiria muziki ya zamani, hizo muziki wengine ambao ni taimbo.
Wengine wanadai kufanya hivyo ni kupromote vipaji vyao haraka ili waweze kujulikana. Je, yawezekana kukawa na ukweli wowote au ndio kukosa kabisa kipaji cha kuandika mistari?
Ndio, unaona kwamba msanii anapoazimia kwamba kuchukua wimbo mwingine wa msanii mwingine na kurudilia yani mara mbili sivyo, haionyeshi kwamba yani ndio wanaanza kazi ya muziki aizani, lakini ukiangalia kabisa asilimia kubwa utakuja kuona kwamba wanakosa ile mawazo ya kutunga muziki.
Zilipendwa kila Jumamosi kuanzia saa 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati hadi saa 1 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
Let the good times roll. From the 10th of October, make a note. Channel Africa is stepping into a brand new era with the launch of our upgraded website and app. It's easy, fresh, and always on your fingertips. Wherever you are in the world, Africa's voice is just a click away. The future of Channel Africa goes live from the 10th of October. Don't miss the moments.
Tsepiso Makwetla winds it down on Africa World Hour, 9 to 10 p.m.
Now, the Department of Tourism in South Africa, in collaboration with the University of Pretoria and Tshwane University of Technology, hosted the annual Tourism Research Seminar in the capital, Pretoria. The seminar was to strengthen evidence-based policy making and promote sustainability in South Africa's tourism sector. Our reporter Lebogang Mabanga was there.
The annual Tourism Research Seminar brings together policymakers, academics and industry leaders to exchange ideas and share new research shaping the future of South Africa's tourism landscape. This year's event focused on how research can better inform tourism policy, enhance competitiveness and drive inclusive participation across the country. Dr. Koladi Tlabela from the Department of Tourism says the seminar allows government to share findings beyond academic spaces and make them accessible to the wider public.
It's been over 10 years that we have been collaborating with institutions of higher learning and research institutions, but a critical area for us as the department was that why do we really want to have the seminar? It was mostly to make sure that we take research findings out of the confines of academic journals and make them accessible to a wider audience.
Some of the key findings presented include the development of a tourism resilience model designed to monitor sector performance and identify early warning signs for recovery. Researchers also reviewed tourism grading criteria to improve service standards and launched training initiatives for indigenous storytellers in the Kalahari region, part of efforts to improve inclusive tourism participation. Dr. Tlabela says the platform is not just about research publication, but about connecting ideas with those who can act on them.
While we understand that academic publication is the primary channel to disseminate research findings, the research seminar provides an opportunity for us to tailor the outcomes of the research to relevant groups and the stakeholders that we serve, not only the research community, but also in the private sector and other stakeholders that we work with.
For academics, the partnership with government strengthens universities' role in addressing real-world challenges. Dr. Vatiswa Papu from the Tshwane University of Technology says universities exist to serve society and help unlock the economy through innovation and collaboration.
This is very much important because our involvement as universities to this point cements the stance that we so much believe in our institution, particularly the Tshwane University of Technology, that universities are not monuments of elite. Universities exist to solve societal challenges. Of course, working together with our government as we're doing today. Of course, working together with industry as well. So we are so resolute in ensuring that we contribute to the unlocking of our economy.
The seminar also reinforced the importance of long-term partnerships between academia, government, and the private sector. Professor Zita Mokomani from the University of Pretoria says collaboration ensures that tourism research contributes not only to economic growth, but also to social and cultural development.
This partnerships between government, academia, and industry reflects the best of what collaborative research can be. It bridges theory and practice, connects researchers and policymakers, and positions tourism as a transformative force for development, sustainability, and shared prosperity. Such partnerships are crucial if we are to strengthen the tourism sector, not only as an economic driver, but also as a platform for social cohesion, cultural exchange, and inclusive growth.
Through its partnerships with universities and research institutions, the Department of Tourism says it aims to ensure that credible, evidence-based research continues to guide South Africa's tourism policy, helping build a more competitive and sustainable sector. Reporting for Channel Africa, I am Lebogang Mabange in Johannesburg, South Africa.
And we wrap up with this story now. So a month into his new term, President of Malawi, Arthur Peter Mutharika, is already signaling a shift in tone and agenda as he steps up into the position amid deepening economic and social pressures. He has wasted very little time in effecting what he said in his inauguration address. He declared that the honeymoon of looting is over, and he vowed to root out corruption and rebuild floundering economy. So within days, his administration announced a partial cabinet, including the return of economist Joseph Mwena Mveka as finance minister and veteran George Chaponda as foreign affairs minister, putting familiar faces to work in unfamiliar circumstances. To speak a little bit more about this, we're joined by Malawian political analyst Francis Phiri. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us.
Good evening, and how are you there?
We're good, thank you. So as we've just mentioned, the moving of pieces on this chessboard, the phrasing being familiar faces for unfamiliar circumstances. How do you read the moves that President Mutharika is making, and will it help to bolster confidence in that not only is his pace right, but the tone that he's setting?
Truly, we have seen the President, Professor Arthur Mutarika not moved, not pushed, taking his time in putting in the senior government officials as well as cabinet. As I'm speaking, we still have partial cabinet. We still have lean senior government officials. We still have no CEOs for government companies or MDAs. So really, he is taking time. You are aware even the parliament was being sown today. There's to be in motion in 2 days' time. But he's not really in a hurry in putting in full cabinet or full senior government officials, including government corporations or government departments.
So he's coming back for a second time around. Is continuity in this case a good idea? Because even though they are seeing Malawians that is continuity yet change, should he be making even bolder changes?
Yes, you are aware that at present there is totally all the board members, all the chairs, all the CEOs, most of them has been fired, and he's now trying to hunt, trying to poach, trying to look for potential people to fill in these vacancies. He said in one of his speeches he has almost 200 appointments to be made. So Lile is his second coming. He's coming with some surprises. He's coming with some amusements. He's coming with a strange tactic in bringing government officials, in bringing CEOs, bringing board members, bringing ministerial posts amid distractions.
So when you say strange, what exactly do you mean? Can you?
You are aware. Mm-hmm. Yes, you are aware in the country over the years, the former government, once they were put in power, they were appointing cabinet within the shortest period of time. They were filling all government parastatals, government departments, government corporations. They were being filled within the shortest period of time. But you are aware by now we are talking of over a month since we went to the polls. So it's really strange in the political journey for Malawi as a country.
If he's going to rewrite the economy, what are some of the more unpopular choices that he has to make, that he has to face down in a country of an electorate that is already feeling despondent?
You are aware that at present Malawians are talking of food security. So it means the Minister of Agriculture should be strong. Malawians are talking about finance, economic challenges, devaluation, high inflation, long queues of fuel as I'm speaking now, no forex in the country. So Malawians are looking at a twist of an economy. So it means the Minister of Finance and people around him, the Reserve Bank governor, and all those technical people should be well versed up. You are talking of a country that has challenges in health systems. So it needs the Minister of Health should be well versed, to be ready to face the challenges. We are talking of a country where they're talking of high or low quality of education, and now with the coming in of the free secondary school education, free primary, he needed to have someone the education sector. So you may see the key sectors need to be well driven.
So just to round off, when you say well versed, do you mean people who have experience in as technocrats, or people who are good political allies who will follow this program of reform that he has put forth, that he has offered to the people of Malawi, when he's saying that it can't be business as usual? What do you mean by well versed?
We don't know. Yes, what I want to say is we don't want the business as usual cabinet. We don't want the business as usual technical people, principal secretaries, directors, authorizing officers. We don't want such approving officers. We need people who are well experienced, people who can turn tables, people who can turn events, people who can turn economy, people who can turn agriculture systems, people who can turn the Reserve Bank, change the situations, and Malawians feel things are better. So we don't need politicians who are good at speaking on the podium. Come on the ground, they fail.
So
time for politicians, I feel, is going.
Okay, so I'm assuming that you're saying people from the private sector who have a track record of turning around pretty much impossible situations. Mr. Phiri? All right, I think we're going to leave it there with Mr. Phiri. Unfortunately, we did not have the best of lines. Political analyst Francis Phiri speaking to us about the program that Malawi's incoming president Peter Mutharika is undertaking to change the political landscape there. And that brings the time to just about 10 p.m. And of course, you will have African Diaries coming up with Shayla Ndukumana. She is going to take you through for the next couple of hours from the team here on Africa World Hour. We hope that you enjoyed the last hour. You continue enjoying your viewing, your listening here on Channel Africa, the African perspective. Until the next time, good night.
We are on Open Views Audio Bouquet, Channel 628.